I'm very excited. Just before we start, I want to say I think this is the foundation to everything about female founders and entrepreneurship, because we need to see as many female founders and role models. And the more we see them, the more we want to be like them. So for me, it's a great pleasure to be speaking to you today, and hopefully to be speaking to all these female founders around the world who are looking to build their own ventures. So thank you for the opportunity.
Welcome to the Career Safari podcast, a space for us to get the inspiration we need to walk boldly on our own path, where we have candid conversations with women from around the world, because there are women everywhere carrying the torch for us. And I'm your host and founder of Career Safari, Wamita. As a reminder, there have been some changes, and that is that we're on YouTube. You're still able to listen to our torchbearer stories every month and get the shot of inspiration you need. But now we're also on YouTube, so you can watch our full-length interviews on our YouTube channel, The Career Safari. So come subscribe to our channel, join the chats. It's a new month, and it's time for our latest torchbearer. How do I even begin this? She was a lawyer that quickly knew that she wasn't on the right path and decided to shake up her career, and we're all glad that she did. She has since become one of the most influential tech and startup leaders in Israel and the Middle East. And that's because she is one of a few people that was able to take an idea, in her case, helping people improve their English writing skills, from a concept to a publicly traded company. That is no small feat. A company called Whitesmoke, which is an English writing software. She is now a mentor and an investor through her foundation, Yesmiot, a community she built for women entrepreneurs. She's also a mother of 3 by way of South Africa, and Israel is Hilla Ovil-Brenner. Hi, Hilla.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for the warm intro. Couldn't be happier.
I couldn't be happier either. There is a lot of ground to cover with you. Thank you for this opportunity for me and Career Safari to share your story and to share more to our audience. So I'm so excited to have you. There is a lot of ground to cover with you. Why don't we start with something totally random? So buckle up. Welcome to Career Safari. You're a mom of 3 and a wife, and I mentioned that in your intro. How would your kids and your husband describe you?
Wow, what a great question to open with. So I think my kids, my family is my greatest achievement in life. And so I think they would describe me as a very close person to their an inspirational person in their path as well. I want to say that it's not easy to be a mom and an entrepreneur. And for all of you watching, I mean, don't underestimate this, because it's a really difficult task to do both things. I raised money when I was 9 months pregnant. It was not easy to do that. And we needed some open-minded investors who would see past this and see the resilience. But, today when I take my kids to female founders, organizations, and to meetings, I bring them and I say it's a full circle, because when I was walking around with my baby girl, and it was like minus 20 degrees outside, and everyone told me I was the worst mother in the world just because I wanted to raise money, right? And I didn't know if I was doing the right thing. Today, I feel like all the pieces came together. And that way I can say that they're very happy to have me, because I was always making a life for myself and at the same time making my family part of my life, right? So.
Okay. You were 9 months pregnant?
I was 9 months pregnant. I was raising money, and I also sold my company at one stage when I had really like a 2-week-old baby. I'm a great believer that your family needs to be part of your life. Not everyone can do it, and not everyone has to do it. And it's 100% okay if you don't do it. But if you want to do it, we're here to make sure that the glass ceiling doesn't exist so that you can really go ahead and do these things.
So you're
And for
talking.
me, that sorry.
No, please continue.
And for me, this was my mission. I looked after my company. I wanted to see my company grow. And so I saw my kids as part of my life.
So you didn't want to be the type of CEO, founder, and mother where you would have separate lives. You wanted it all to come together somehow.
Yes, I believe a lot of moms and mom entrepreneurs want to do that. You know, when we started our first program in Google called Campus for Moms, where moms on maternity leave actually come with their babies and start their startups, everyone said to me, what a stupid idea, because moms want to be moms. And when they go back home, then they want to be CEOs. And I thought, hey, let's give it a chance. Maybe there's more crazy moms like me who want to put everything together. And we started this here in Israel. We did 7 cycles in Tel Aviv, and this became a global program. And the reason I say this is because there were a lot of moms like me who wanted to, at the same time, have the cake and eat it, and do that. And that became a very successful story.
So you also, and I will talk more about that Google program as well, because that was, I mean, what I've read about it, what I've heard about it is stellar, just from like even the little bits you've shared. But I want to talk also about other people's opinions of how you should mother. How much did that weigh on you?
A lot. And I believe it weighs on a lot of moms. And I believe the ones who say that it doesn't and that they don't care are either lying or I don't know, or maybe I think everyone always wants to do the best at what they do. And being a mom is a very sensitive, it's a mission, all right? And when you become a mom, you have a whole 9 months that you're preparing to become a mom, right? And you want to make sure that you're not neglecting or doing anything wrong. And I think your podcast is super important because you bring to the table this exact dilemma that moms have. Are they doing the right thing? And are there more moms who feel like they're great moms? And I feel today like I'm a great mom. But when I was getting all this feedback, of course it was weighing on me. And of course I was thinking about it. But we need to, I think, going into 2023, start looking above it and seeing more moms that understand that you can have it on both sides. Yes, you need to give up on a lot of things too, but I think it does weigh on you, but you can still live with it and make it happen.
Yeah, and I'm touching on this a little bit more because I'll go into your professional background, and I think we could, I mean, obviously we can have a whole syllabus around everything you've done as a professional, but I want people to understand, and the listeners to understand you as a human first. And then we're going to talk about your, I mean, all the accomplishments, your children being one, maintaining a healthy home being one, and the most important, but I really want them to hear this side. So I saw something that you said, or read, I should say, yeah, I saw something that you said around, and I'm going to butcher this. I didn't write it down, but it's something around when a woman is pregnant, you feel that that's the perfect time to pivot. Is that, do you understand? Do you remember?
Yes.
What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, wow. Thank you for mentioning this because it's a really important message I have for women. I think when you're pregnant, it's a really good time to do like a little bit of a halt and look into your life and understand if this is the kind of life you want to continue when you go back with a baby. And unfortunately, a lot of the careers that women hold today in corporate America, etc., very demanding. At the same time, they don't offer you any freedom. And I think sometimes this is a really good time to stop. And if you have that little entrepreneurship side in you and you really want to do this contrary to the urban legend that women just want to stay home when they have a baby, right? Which I don't know where this urban legend comes from, but contrary to that, this is a great time to stop and perhaps pivot from your life and go into something that's more flexible, that you have more ownership and more freedom to do.
So use this time as much as you can to pause and just, I would say, maybe write down a couple of notes even about what you want for your life. But yeah, I mean, I know a lot of, at least my friends and family members, when they've had kids, a lot of them have shifted their careers soon after. Either they need a break after that. I mean, not even just the maternity leave, but they just realize they need a break from what they're doing for a living, or they've completely shifted their career and become entrepreneurs. But I've seen a lot of women after having their first child significantly not even stop their career, just change it. So, I mean, that's a great point that you're making. So thank you for sharing that. So our theme for this season is embrace your career safari, basically challenging us to embrace the unique journeys that we're living through, thriving, and just, like I said, pivoting through. So I want to talk about Whitesmoke for a little bit. What were the first few years like trying to start Whitesmoke? And if I butchered what it is, just please correct me. But what were those first few years like trying to start Whitesmoke?
Okay, I'm glad you asked me this because it takes me back to, I think, where a lot of you are listeners at the moment, trying to start your own company. And it's really, really important you understand everyone that you hear always feels this way. And you should always look at the person who's speaking as a human first, right? And what they went through when they wanted to start a company. So I was a lawyer originally. I had no connections in Israel because I didn't grow up here. I didn't know the ecosystem. I was never a founder. And my passion was for grammar and innovation. And I wanted to make a difference. I felt this was a big pain. And the first advice I have for you is that you have to be in love with the idea that you want to pursue. It doesn't mean that you have to work at it your whole life or that you wanted to do it from when you were like 4. That doesn't matter. It could be a brand new idea, but you have to at least love it. I don't believe you can really start a company if you're not 100% a believer in what you do. And if you woke me up for years when I was a CEO and founder of Whitesmoke, I would tell you that grammar is the thing that changes the world, right? And so it was easy for me because when I walked into places and people told me, isn't that feature? And, I mean, are you really starting a company around this? And what difference is it going to make for people? Or you look like a really nice person, go do something else with your life, right? And so for me, this was a really big thing because I realized I loved it and I believed in it, right? And so my first message is that the first years are very difficult. You have to be really in love with it. And for me, it was a really big thing. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I really believe that you need to find good people to walk with you. So it needs to be great partners if you have one, if you need one. You can also be a solo founder. That also works, right? But there is a lot of things that you need to find. You need to go out to the journey because it's such a difficult journey. You want to go with the best lawyers and accountants and friends and colleagues and everybody who's really professional, but everybody should be united around the mission. The first few years of Whitesmoke were very difficult to raise money for something with no experience. But I believe it's simpler today than it was when I was a young founder. There's many accelerators. I myself, was the managing director of Techstars for 5 years. There are 60 accelerators around the world like this. Y Combinator, 500 startups, a lot of different accelerators around the world that actually help you. So find the right program maybe to help you. Find the first right investor for you. There is a zillion things you need to do. But for me, the first few years, going back to your question, were not easy, but very passionate few years. I would do them all over again if I had to.
You said a lot of great advice there. So let me just, a couple of follow-up questions for that. So what years did you run or did you found Whitesmoke? What year was it founded?
The actual company was founded in 2002, 2003, maybe. Yeah, 2002, 2003. And I was there for many years. When it became public, there was a new CEO to it. But I made every mistake in the first company I had. And I also know you ladies will make many mistakes. And it's okay to make many mistakes, right? Tons of gray hair from all the mistakes I made. So I changed business models. I chose wrong investors. I raised too much money. Then I raised too little money. I made many, many mistakes. I think the main message is that not everything needs to be a success. It's okay to sometimes fail, but you really need to enjoy the journey. And us as female founders, a lot of the time, we look at the end and we want to check. And I think it's also about learning about who we are and becoming role models for our daughters, right? And making this world a more equal place. So yeah, sorry, I'm going on. You have more
No, you're
questions about
not.
that?
Let it all out. Listen, I bet you I'm taking mental notes for myself. And when I go back and watch this, I'm going to be taking actual notes as well.
I think it's really, really important that as female founders listen to each other and understand it's not only about opening the magazine and seeing the success of some woman somewhere, sometimes not even in our geography, right? It's about looking ourselves in the mirror and knowing that we're not giving up on our dreams, that we're following what we want to follow. And for that, I do all these podcasts and these articles because I feel when I was a young founder, I didn't have enough of these materials. And today there are programs, investors, foundations, grants. And the more we could do that, the more inspiration, like you call it a shot of inspiration, because you're so smart when it comes to names. I know, you're really good at that. Safari. Safari is my favorite. I think it's genius. And by the way, I love safaris. And I feel, yes, like my life was a safari of innovation and of creativity, in that there were ups and downs, in that you take a lot of journeys without seeing things sometimes, right? So you can go through a whole day of trying to find game, but you can't find it. Same as changing business models and looking for investors and looking for team, like a great team. It's really difficult to find a great team. And sometimes you believe in a team and it ends up that the team isn't what you thought it would be. And sometimes you raise money from an investor, you realize even though you thought he was on your side, they're not on your side, right? So there is a zillion surprises. And I think it's about just understanding that it's a journey, and the journey is more important than the actual destination.
We might have like accidentally just walked into your career safari title, Safari of Innovation.
I love that. Safari of Innovation. I'm game.
Okay, your game. So the name of your journey, we're calling it Safari of Innovation.
I love that.
Was it hard for you to walk away from Whitesmoke when it went public?
I walked away even before it went public. So just before, it was in my life, I walked away from several things, all of which were really always difficult for me to do because I'm a keeper and I'm always very loyal. And I walked away from several things in my life when I thought it was time to go. And that's something I really urge and I teach my kids to do as well. Sometimes it's very, very hard to do, but sometimes you need to do. And for me, all those walking away points were always super hard. And on the other hand, they were the most successful times of my life where I really grew stronger and pivoted from my own life. Sometimes a lot of the people I know, including my best friends, don't walk away from a lot of things they should walk away from. Even relationships that you need to walk away from, right? A lot of women don't do that because they're just too scared. Starting a company is like, really, it's like having a child. Walking away from that is super hard. even walking away from a position that you really enjoy in life, like being a managing director at Textras was one of my highlights of my life, right? I was there for 5 years. All those walking away points turned out to be really successful. And I say to my kids, and now to you female founders, is sometimes you need to walk away from things just to grow and become stronger.
So did you always know when to walk away? Like some people I do find their self-awareness is so incredibly high. And I'm a little, I wouldn't say envious, but it's something that I'm trying to fine tune myself. So did you know when to walk away, or it took you a little bit in leaving?
No, I not always knew when to walk away. A lot of the points I mentioned, I didn't know when to walk away in. But I'm a great believer that all of them, and that I always look at the half full glass and think how to fill the other half. I believe ultimately these were all great turning points in my life.
Would you ever, I'm just curious, would you ever want to do that again? Like take a company from seed concept to IPO? Would you want to do that again?
Actually, I found something really weird about myself, and I hope for you that one day you'll find great things about yourselves. It's incredible when you start discovering yourself. And I discovered about myself that I was a better enabler than actually a founder. So I was a great founder because I was very resilient and I didn't take no for an answer. And if you close the door, I would open the window, and I went all over the world to look for the people who would invest in me. And I did a lot of things for the company, but I was a better enabler. So when one of my companies that I invested in actually was actually sold for many millions of dollars, and I was very, very, very happy. I think it was the first $60 million acquisition by an Israeli company. And I remember I came home and my friend said to me, well, but you've done even bigger things as a CEO. Why are you so happy? You only invested in this company and now they sold. That's nice, but weren't you happier when you're a founder? And I said to her, you know what? Genuinely, I was happier. I was walking on air because I felt there was something about my investment. I was a better enabler. I worked the founders, the issues that they had between themselves. I helped them put together a business plan. I made them understand, who they needed to sell to. And I felt that it was my contribution that made this rough diamond into a diamond. And so I found out about myself that I was a better enabler than a founder.
How interesting. So So I've heard just a lot about like your time at Whitesmoke. And now just a couple of things I would just summarize there. For those of us that are founders, like I am a founder as well, and that's why I'm loving this time right now and the jewels you're dropping. Be okay with the journey. It's not about the destination. You're going to get roughed up a little bit along the way, but have a great team. Be okay with pivoting. It's something also I heard. But something that you also said that I want to like peek into a little bit. Am I correct that you tried to start businesses, well, obviously in Israel, in South Africa, and the US as well?
No, I didn't. I started my businesses in Israel, but then they expanded to the US, and to Europe. So I started them originally in Israel, where I lived, and then I expanded them further. I'm a great believer in globalization. And I think one of our biggest challenges as founders is that we only know the small arena around us. That's why I really believe in networks. That's why I'm such a great believer in like a podcast like yours, because the next day, everybody who's watching this, right, is going to connect with me on LinkedIn. I know that. And they're going to write to me because they're going to say, we have a venture that we think is really interesting. And I'm going to say, well, you know what? I know this and this person who might be super interested in this. And this is how we connect this global network. And tomorrow morning, one of my friends could become one of your listeners, investors or mentors or customers. So I think I started my business in Israel, but today it's not like it used to be in our parents' and grandparents' age. You don't start like a company and it stays in one place.
Yeah.
You know, the Whitesmoke product was on millions of computers. People were using it. And it's incredible to me to think that all these millions of people are around the world are going to tell each other about this product, and that any of the products that you could launch today could become. And that's why I think in our region, we have a responsibility to help each other, because us as female founders, we can grow our network. Right?
And you having that openness is only gonna yield benefits to you and extend your knowledge as well. And what I'm also hearing is that you're constantly trying to learn and grow. Even though you've reached all of this success, even though you're one of the most influential people, you still are open to learning and innovating, which goes back to the Safari of Innovation title.
It's the safari, right? We're on the safari trip. Here we are on the Jeep in the safari. And we're learning, we're constantly learning, and we are going through a lot of things. But I want to say something really important is that we're learning because of each other. And we have a responsibility for each other to help each other, right? Yeah. And I think that's what really creates innovation. This is what creates the safari. So the role you have in doing a podcast like this is very, very important, because women in previously only listened to podcasts about other men, usually white men, and they said to themselves, they couldn't identify themselves. I couldn't identify myself when I was a young founder with the people that were in those podcasts, and I didn't think I was ever going to be these people. But today, I have so many sources to look at people that are just like me, people that came from the Middle East or from Africa, women that still want to have kids. And all these people that I'm listening to have made it happen, right? But also one more thing is, the more investors we have from this region and that are female and etc., the more this, because research has shown that people invest in people that are the same as them. And I try to invest in as many women as possible. Because when I do that, I feel I have a responsibility for that pipeline to grow. And if I don't do it, who's going to do it? But the more people like me are investors, the more this chicken and egg thing is going to enhance.
Do you think, just let's talk about the environment around women entrepreneurs and aspiring business leader. Do you think because you mentioned how you never lived in Israel and you started your business in Israel, and I'm thinking as a Kenyan or American Kenyan, I'm like, that's like me, born and raised in the United States, saying I'm going to go start my business in Kenya, and I'm thinking about all of the craziness that would happen with that.
Well, Christopher, I've invested in companies from Kenya, and I think there's great companies from Kenya. And so I think that's not a bad idea at all. Okay, I think there's diamonds out there, but
we can talk about that offline, because I have something.
To answer your question, I think Kenya is an exciting place to be, and I have a few really great startups from there. But Africa altogether is growing, and the potential is incredible. But I want to say, first of all, my parents were Israeli, right? So I had some background here. I didn't live here, but I had some background. I heard the stories, and I knew that this was Startup Nation, right? So when I came here, it was a little bit easier because the ecosystem here was so loving, and so there was so much support in the ecosystem, and that one degree of separation that you can find here, which is incredible, which you will never find anywhere in the world. When you want to meet someone, you can always meet the VC you want to meet, because someone always knows him, or he invested in someone that you know, etc. That was really great. And so it was almost ready for me to penetrate this ecosystem, which is not the same in all the places in the world. But then my advice to any female founder, and including yourself, would be find a place where you have connections, but also don't rely on these connections, because connections can be made. The harder you work, the more connections you have. And you can even do that online today. So easy, right? So go to your LinkedIn right now and look up people that you think are relevant to you, and see who can actually introduce you to these people, and you'll find great people can introduce you, and great warm introductions, not just, cold introductions. And it's incredible to see.
Did you feel that so you felt the environment in Israel was better to start up versus the US or South Africa?
Yes, I definitely felt that, because in many ways the Israeli ecosystem really supports entrepreneurs, in that if you fail, remember we said the journey is important and not only the destination. If you fail, people don't look at you like you did something really wrong. They kind of understand. And so it's part of life. Also, the number of startups per capita is so high. You'll end up like going with a taxi driver, and his son has a startup, and then his brother was an investor, and it's everywhere. It's just everywhere. It surrounds you. So it was a really good place to start for me. I didn't know anything about this ecosystem, but I started going to angel investors. I started getting some feedback, which is also something I say to entrepreneurs: get early feedback. The faster you get feedback. And I think I was very flexible at the time. I wasn't coachable enough. I don't know if I would have invested in myself. Probably. I wasn't coachable in that if you really didn't like my idea at all, and then I thought you were an idiot, right?
Well, then I support that. That to me is you were confident.
I can understand that today. So I say to investors, if you want to penetrate the founder's heart, right? The way to do it is not to just crush their dreams, right?
Yeah.
The way to do it is just listen, create a trust, create a bond, and then later say, hey, I think you should think about this and this. Because if I come to you now and tell you it's a bad idea, this is your life's passion. This is what you want to do. This is what you want to dream about. And I mean, who am I to tell you that this is all wrong?
Yeah. I mean, and then you know it with like, you see it now as an investor and a mentor, and an enabler, as you also say. Like most technology, most businesses are not created with like women like me or you or women in general in mind. So it's like we have yet to tap into what people need to function, to survive, to thrive. Like we have yet to tap into it, because the people who are on the side creating these products, creating these services that are now viral, aren't us. So we don't know. We haven't even hit our height yet in terms of like what innovation looks like.
I so agree with you. And you know what the good news is that we're going towards it. And probably in our lifetime still is going to be a big change. When I was 18 in South Africa, in 1992, I'm giving away my entire age here.
Well, that was a big time. That was a big time in South Africa.
It was a big time. And I remember that I went for the first election, right? And it was my first time to ever elect. I was 18 years old, and I felt like I was making huge history. And I don't know if you believe me or not, but I'm feeling like we're making history again today, because we are bringing women somewhere that they didn't. I mean, yes, they got voting power, elections a couple of years back and all that, but they weren't equal in the high tech arena, and they weren't especially colored and women and Orthodox and other minorities that we have here in Israel. And I believe today we're really making a difference, because I think maybe still in our lifetime we'll have a 50-50 representation in the high tech arena. It's my dream. I think so. I mean, I don't know. But I feel like it's getting there. It's because podcasts like this, because women around the world are actually listening to this.
Yeah. You don't know the heights you can climb until you see someone doing it before you. Like I never knew I could do that. This is a new thing. But I also have to say part of that, and the reason why I'll join you in that hope of having equity in that way, but it's because of you. You've done a lot of mentoring and investing since you left Whitesmoke. So again, join me on the Career Safari journey. So we do something here called Flex Minute. It's a time where I want torchbearers, which you are, to brag. I would like you to do a special version of this, specifically about Yasmiot. which is again the community she founded for female founders. So from what I understand, your vision there is to dramatically increase the presence and number of women entrepreneurs in the high tech and biotech industry. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I want you to flex. Show it all off. Please do not be modest. I really want people to understand all that you do to support women founders. So if you could spend a few moments talking about the partnerships you've created through Yasmiat. You talked about what you did for Google, and the community that you're creating there. So please do not be shy. I want them to hear like how much you're doing behind this.
Amazing. So thank you. I'm not going to be shy because I think it's very important. And my dream is for Yazamiot to grow around the world and for us to have ambassadors all over the world, right? And Yazamiot is the female founders in Hebrew. That's the word. I told you before the interview that it's a terrible word because no one can pronounce it.
I know. I'm Wamita, so people struggle with my names.
But I dream that in every country, someone will take the word for female founders in their language and open a little community like we did. So this was the Hebrew female founders community. And what we did here actually started in my back garden 12 years ago. And we had 5 entrepreneurs sitting together, thinking and helping each other. And we realized there weren't so many of us and that we can really support each other. And through the years, this organization grew to 8,500 female founders. It's like a pyramid. We have all the early stage, then the later stage. We even have female founders running unicorns. And they all get together in various events. And the idea is for them to help each other, just like they did in my back garden, just much more scalable and more structured now. So Google was one example. It was called Campus for Moms. We did 7 cycles and duplicated it all over the world. We have a beautiful YouTube video, which we can post for you and on YouTube. And you can all watch how everyone came with their babies. We had our first exit from there. 2 female founders who came with different ideas and met and sold their company for about $100 million. Right. Oh. So we had some great success stories from that. And we had great partnerships. And we had a really beautiful program, a 10-week program where women actually came to Google and got all the support from Google for Startups. And then we did a partnership with Microsoft, an incredible accelerator for female founders. Really, like, the level was super high. The mentoring they got from executives within Microsoft was exceptional. And we had a very, very special AI and machine learning, very focused accelerator for female founders with Amazon. Really, like a top-notch program that we did together here in Israel. We had programs in universities, so Tel Aviv University, municipalities around Israel. And the idea of all these programs is for women to get together and do exactly what we're doing now, brag a little bit.
Okay. And you are. And I'm like, you mentioned Google, you mentioned Amazon, you mentioned unicorns. I'm like,
because the idea is for all of us to brag to each other, but also help each other. Mm-hmm. Because if women come together, an incredible something happens between women, which is exactly unlike what the urban legend says, that women don't help each other.
Yeah.
Women really help each other. They really help each other. So when we found women in very senior positions in all the big companies, we knew that this was it, you know? We knew that women can help each other in all these.
So right now I think you said it's not just in Israel. You've helped support technology and efforts in over like 10, 15 countries.
Yes, we've helped many, and we partner with different organizations. We're also the ambassadors of a big organization called She Loves Tech. So every year we have a competition and our winner actually flies to China or Singapore to participate in that competition. It's the biggest female founders competition in the world. urge you all to look at it and sign up for it because it's incredible. And so we're the ambassadors of many, many organizations, and we create a global reach for female founders who want to move out of Israel.
Oh, you are so much more than just the founder of Whitesmoke. The amount of people, and it's people, yes, you're directly helping women founders, but what they do helps communities. What they do it creates jobs for other people. So what you're doing is it's just you can't even touch like the magnitude of the people in lives that you're changing. So thank you. If people want to be involved with Yesmiot, how should they get connected?
They can do it on our website, Yesmiot. I will post it on your channel as well. And they can just connect with us. We're actively looking for ambassadors all around the world who want to create little communities and partner with us, because we believe this is how connections and this is how a network actually works.
Okay, thank you. I went back to Career Safari's audience and I asked a couple of people like what questions would they have for you. So I'll focus on one. As a founder, how did you divide your time between so many priorities?
It's a great question. It's very personal, so each person can do their thing. To me, was always family first, really. It was family first. But when I was coming to dividing my attention in the company itself, I think fundraising is very essential because it's like the fuel. You need fuel to move. So to me, the CEO's position is always about, first of all, about fundraising, and then, hiring a team and putting together everything. But to me, fundraising is the most important.
Hilla, forgive me. Thank you so much for your time. That is our torchbearer for the month, Hilla Ovil-Brenner. How can people get in touch with you?
My email or LinkedIn. So I'm going to give you my email address. It's brenner.hilla@gmail.com, and I'll write it in the comments, of course. And you're welcome to be in touch with me. I'm definitely going to answer. It might take me a little while sometimes if I get a lot of emails, but I'm definitely here. And if I don't answer, email me again, because you're a great founder. And this is what founders do. They become very persistent, right? So I wish all the female founders that are watching this the greatest success. You're very lucky to be an audience of the Safaris, this incredible podcast. It's really, really been a pleasure being here, and I wish all of you very, very much luck.
Awesome. And for more information on her career safari and to read more about Hilla's journey, visit us at www.thecareersafari.com. Come and join our Torch community. Follow us on social media. Watch this on YouTube. And until then, everybody, continue to pass the torch. Goodbye.